fire, otherwise the state of combustion, or to put it simply, burning. To burn at all, a fire needs heat, fuel and oxygen. Bring these three together in sufficient quantities and you'll have a fire. Take one of them away and the fire will go out. It will die. Heat raises the temperature of the fuel to a point where it will ignite. Fuel is anything which will burn, though different fuels require different degrees of heat to ignite them. Oxygen sustains life. It does the same for fire. Give a fire enough air and fuel and it will continue to burn. So deprive a fire of any of the elements necessary to it and it will die. There are three ways of putting out a fire: by cooling it or taking away the heat, by starving it or taking away the fuel, by smothering it or taking away the oxygen. The method applied depends upon the type of fire. Fires are classified according to the fuels involved. Class A fires, the most common sort, involve materials of an organic nature, such as wood, paper, cloth, rubber, coal, and so on. Class B fires cover volatile liquids. Typical examples are oil, petrol, grease, and paint. Class C fires involve gases, natural gas, coal gas, or one of the bottle gases like propane or oxyacetylene. Class D fires, burning metals. Electrical fires have no class as such. They fall by circumstance into one or other of the given categories. So although electrical equipment may be involved or even responsible for starting a fire, it is the particular fuel or fuels that must be extinguished. Correctly identifying the class of fire is half the battle, since the kind of fire decides what extinguishing agent is to be used. To start with, a Class A fire, burning organic solids. The most effective way of dealing with this kind of fire is by cooling it, getting rid of the heat. Water is the cooling agent. Water absorbs heat. The fire spends its heat in the effort of converting water into steam. Also, the steam contributes to extinguishing the fire by acting as a smothering medium. The easiest and quickest method of applying the water is by a portable extinguisher. The type of water-filled extinguisher employed by British Coal, colour-coded red, complete discharge only. The colour code is important. As well as telling you what the extinguisher contains, it identifies the class of fire to which the content should be applied. In this instance, red. So red for a Class A fire. The extinguisher has a capacity of 9 litres, and the water is forced out under pressure by using CO2, carbon dioxide gas. The 55 grams of gas are stored in a cartridge screwed into the head cap. The operating plunger is protected by a cover. The operation is simple. Before doing anything else, position the extinguisher on the floor and then grip the hose firmly. Remove the protective cap and strike the plunger. If you don't take hold of the hose first, the force of the water will make it spin about, just like a Catherine wheel. The water will go anywhere except possibly on the fire. Remember, the extinguisher discharges completely, so you only have one chance. Also, the spinning hose can easily inflict injury. So grip the hose firmly and remove the protective cap. Strike the plunger to release the CO2 gas. This will fill the airspace above the water, which is then forced out under pressure through the discharge hose to emerge as a jet. Attack the fire from a safe distance. A water extinguisher has an effective range of approximately 7 to 8 meters. Approach the fire upwind. That way, you'll be able to escape the smoke entering your lungs and also avoid the worst of the heat. Don't operate your extinguisher before you get within a safe distance to fight the fire. If you do, you'll spend half the contents before they can be put to effective use. Discharge only lasts about 1.5 minutes. Don't stand so far away that you will get a feathering effect with the water. Drive the jet of water into the base. That is where the fire is hottest. As the water absorbs the heat, the flames will recede from the top of the fire. The steam being produced helps to suffocate the fire. Continue directing the water into the fire until all the flames disappear from the base. Attack the fire from different angles, working safely around and directing water into the base. When all the flames have disappeared, you'll be left with a charred mass, but that is no guarantee that the fire is dead. Some hot spots may still be smoldering in the center. It only needs a fresh supply of oxygen, a wind overnight say, to regenerate the fire. So rip the mass apart and, if necessary, apply more water. Underground, where there is a constant current of air from the ventilation, the remains of a fire must be dug out thoroughly, particularly around conveyor rollers, and cooled down before being put into a mine car. If the embers are not allowed to cool, you may spread the fire elsewhere. A word of caution, never use water on a fire involving electrical equipment unless the power is off. Water is a very good conductor. Now for a Class B fire, a volatile liquid involved. In this case, burning oil. A lot of gas escaping in the form of smoke. A Class B fire always looks spectacular, but in fact it's easier to extinguish than a Class A fire. In a Class A fire, the heat is retained in the mass of the material. With a Class B fire, it's merely on the surface where the liquid burns. But bear in mind there's always the danger of reignition. Always more smoke than flames, because the vapor escaping from the burning liquid won't allow enough oxygen to combine with the heat and the fuel. It's only higher up, where sufficient oxygen can be admitted, that the odd flame appears. What is the best way of extinguishing this kind of fire? You can't eliminate the fuel. Cooling won't work. Water will only spread the oil and intensify the fire. So we're left with the oxygen. And we can exclude that by smothering the fire with foam. The foam extinguisher, British Coal approved. Color-coded cream. So cream is to be associated with Class B fires. This extinguisher discharges completely. The air foam extinguisher contains 8 liters of water and 1 liter of foam-making compound. It has a carbon dioxide charge, similar in design to the one in the water-filled extinguisher, but larger, containing 75 grams of CO2. There's a discharge hose similar to the one found on the water-filled extinguisher, but with a foam-making branch attached. Air is sucked in through the holes to make foam, so never cover them with your hand. Now for the operation. Grip the foam-making branch pipe firmly, taking care not to cover the holes. Remove the protective cap and strike the plunger. The CO2 gas will then escape into the airspace to discharge the foam water solution under pressure. Air is drawn in as the solution reaches the branch pipe and the mixture is expelled as foam. The mixing of the water and foam compound creates 8 times as much foam as the capacity of the extinguisher. Start at a safe distance. The range of the extinguisher is approximately 5 to 6 meters. The foam must cover the fire like a blanket of snow. Get too close and the blast of the foam will create turbulence and possibly spread the fire. Also, if you're too close at the start and need to come back, you may well stumble. The most effective way of tackling this type of fire is to cascade the foam over the area involved. The bubbles will knit together to form a blanket that will roll over the surface, excluding oxygen. Although it's not usual to use a foam extinguisher on a Class A fire, it may be done in an emergency. In that event, treat the foam like water and drive it into the heart of the fire. Foam, like water, is a good conductor, so don't use it if the fire involves electrical equipment unless the power is off. Dry chemical powder, another way of extinguishing a Class B fire. Dry powder, bicarbonate of soda, as in baking, with a small percentage of additive to resist caking of the powder. There are 3 approved types of dry powder extinguisher, color-coded blue. They are all complete discharge models. Grip the external discharge hose firmly as always. Remove the cap, clip, or as in this case, the stirrup. Strike the plunger. The gas, a 170-gram cartridge, is not released at the top, as that would only force the powder down. Instead, it goes down the gas distribution tube. The powder is fluffed up the internal discharge tube and out through the external discharge. A fan effect is created that can act as a shield. Use the extinguisher a safe distance from the fire. The effective range is about 3 meters. Play the jet back and forth with a scything motion as quickly as possible. Discharge time is short, 17 to 18 seconds for a 9-kilogram extinguisher, 8 seconds for a 3-kilogram. Blot the fire out as quickly as you can. Dry powder achieves a quick knockdown effect and acts faster than foam to displace oxygen, but cooling is minimal. The vapors may always flash again. Dry powder works effectively against electrical fires. CO2 gas, another smothering agent for use on Class B and electrical fires. No contamination to machinery, ideal for use if the fire is small, and in an atmosphere where the air is reasonably still. CO2 gas cannot be used effectively on fires in atmospheres with high velocities, as in most places underground. The gas will dissipate before the fire can be extinguished. 2 of the approved types of CO2 extinguishers, color-coded black. The larger of the 2 has a capacity of 5 kilograms. The smaller, 2 kilograms, both with discharge horns. The horns are shaped to allow for the expansion of the CO2 gas as it enters the atmosphere. The CO2 extinguisher has a controlled discharge. The discharge horn is either connected to the valve or to a flexible hose. It depends upon the size of extinguisher. On discharge, the liquefied gas in the drawn steel container reverts to gas at an expansion ratio of 450 to 1. Now for the operation. Direct the horn towards the fire, pointing downwards. The gas is heavier than air, so this will assist it to get to the bottom of the fire. Withdraw the sealed safety pin and squeeze the control. Discharge is slightly noisy, so be prepared for it. But the really important thing to remember is not to touch anything on the discharge side. The connections will ice up because the gas is tremendously cold on expansion. If your hand comes into contact, it will get frozen to the horn. Play the jet into the seat of the fire so that the inert gas displaces the oxygen. Stand a safe distance away. The range is no more than 2 meters, so you may need to get fairly close to achieve an effective flow. Although it freezes, CO2 has virtually no cooling effect. The fire may reignite because of retained heat. Still with Class B fires, halons, vaporizing liquids, more effective than dry powder, color-coded green, controlled discharge. The halon most widely used by British Coal is BCF. BCF extinguishers are found in garages or plant depots or on vehicles in case of petrol or engine fires. They're also sited in laboratories, computer rooms, offices, stores and canteens. A BCF extinguisher can be handled by anyone. Special fiberglass blankets are provided in most industrial canteens and can be quite effective if used in the right way. BCF is non-corrosive and is a non-conductor of electricity. However, since it is slightly toxic, at the moment it's not considered suitable for general use underground. BCF is stored as a liquid. It's supercharged by nitrogen and expelled as a jet. If the extinguisher has a plastic head cap, the safety pin can be withdrawn automatically as the extinguisher is removed from its wall bracket, or pulled manually. Use the extinguisher from a safe distance, directing the jet into the seat of the fire. The effective range is 2 to 3 meters. Controlled discharge allows you a shot in the locker. Class C fires formed from gases. Either liquefied gases, sometimes at high pressure, or natural gases. The extinguisher you would normally use, dry powder. Although given the right conditions, CO2 and halon gas can also be used against surface Class C fires. With a bottle gas, leakage is often due to a damaged or insecure gauge or valve. If you can turn off the gas, okay. If that's impossible, but the fire is not going to affect anything else, let it burn itself out. But if the fire is likely to spread, put it out. Afterwards, spray the container to cool it down and turn off the valve. Never immerse it in water. Class D fires involve burning metals, unlikely to occur in mining incidents. Don't attempt to use an ordinary extinguisher, since water, dry powder or CO2 can be dangerous if applied. Burning metals create their own oxygen. Sand or stone dust usually suffices to smother them, although special extinguishers can be obtained to deal with Class D fires. A portable extinguisher is for a fire in its incipient stage. But once a fire goes beyond that point and threatens to get out of control, we must resort to the fire main. The minimum water supply for a colliery is approximately 90,000 litres, stored in a surface tank or reservoir. It's gravity-fed down the shaft column and along the main trunk system to be delivered to all working districts underground. The water is drawn off by means of control valves, underground fire hydrants, installed along the system at specified intervals, not greater than 225 meters. The hydrants are sited off the ground, shown by notices marked H. An underground hydrant consists of a pressure-reducing mechanism, a delivery orifice, a control wheel, dust suppression outlets, and an inlet tapping for a portable pressure gauge. Also included is a pressure relief valve. You open the hydrant by turning the control wheel in the direction indicated by the arrows, and close it likewise. You won't receive the water immediately. Delivery is regulated by the mechanism within the hydrant. That mechanism is responsible for controlling pressure and flow. Excessive pressure will cause the hose to whip. The recommended working pressure is 5 bar at about 5 litres per second flow. Surface hydrants, on the other hand, are designed to work at low pressure and have no restriction on pressure and flow. The water flows out through the delivery orifice. This is a female instantaneous coupling. At the receiving end of the fire hose is a male instantaneous coupling. The two simply lock together. Just a positive push with a click to indicate the connection has been made. The male coupling is secured by a spring clip device in the female. The hose is made of synthetic material impregnated with latex and is impervious to water. At the delivering end of the hose is another female instantaneous coupling. The branch pipe is inserted into this. All branch pipes are supplied with a nozzle. If brass, the branch and nozzle are separate. They are joined together by screwing the nozzle into the branch. The plastic fitting combines the two. The ZA12 branch is also a complete unit. ZA12 is a zinc alloy. Hose couplings are made from non-ferrous materials, such as brass, plastic or ZA12. Always remember, when making up your hose, that the female instantaneous coupling is at the delivering end and the male at the receiving end. When running out a hose line, always start at the hydrant. Connect up with the male coupling running off the bottom of the coil. Grasp the lugs on the female coupling firmly and lift to shoulder height. As you move forward, the hose will uncoil itself with little exertion on your part. You may need more than one length of hose. Whoever's going to operate the last length of hose will carry the branch with him. The branch pipe is fitted into the end of the last length of hose. Take up your position with one hand on top of the nozzle to counteract the force of the jet. With the other, either hold the barrel of the branch or the hose. Assume the position most comfortable to you, so long as you maintain control. Ideally, there should always be someone to assist you by turning on the water at the hydrant, because the branch shouldn't be left once it's under pressure. But this isn't always possible, and you may have to tackle a fire on your own. The hose and branch should be in a smooth flow line to obtain an effective jet. If you should get a spray, check for kinks along the line of the hose. Once they're taken out, you'll be rewarded with an effective jet. There may be occasions when you need either a dividing breech or a collecting breech. A collecting breech. This enables water to be fed from two sources into a single hose. It is a three-way branch. The two male couplings receive the supplies. A dividing breech. This splits a water supply equally into two hoses. This is also a three-way branch. A male coupling receives the water, while two female couplings deliver it. By dividing the flow, two fires can be attacked simultaneously. Another aid, a foam-making branch pipe. It's used for tackling Class B fires beyond the scope of portable extinguishers. It fits into the end of the hose just like a water branch. A tube from the branch is fitted into a container of foam compound. The water passing through the branch has a suction effect. The compound is drawn up to mix with air and water and is discharged as foam. This may take a few seconds. The jet should not be played on the fire until the foam is being produced. This branch is just as easy to handle as a water branch. Hold it in a comfortable position as demonstrated, taking care not to cover the air intake holes. After use, make up equipment carefully. Before you roll up your hose, underrun it and get all the water out. On the surface, use a hose coiler to make up your hose. If one is not available, or you're underground, get the first coil tight so that the middle doesn't drop out. Roll from the female end. Roll it in a straight line, always towards the male coupling, and walk with it. Don't drag the hose towards you. Roll up damaged hose from the male coupling to show that it needs repair. If you have to leave damaged hose for any reason without rolling it up first, then tie a knot in either end. To summarize, Class A fires. Organic material such as wood, paper, cloth, rubber, coal, etc. Use a portable water extinguisher or a hose, but not on electrical fires. Class B fires. Volatile liquids such as oil, petrol, grease, paint, etc. Use a foam extinguisher or a foam branch pipe, but not on electrical fires. Or dry powder, or CO2 gas, or halon gas, surface only. Class C fires. Gases such as natural gas, propane, oxyacetylene, etc. Use dry powder, or CO2 gas, or halon gas, surface only. Class D fires. Burning metals. Use sand or stone dust, or special extinguishers. The best way to prevent fires is to reduce risks to an absolute minimum. But if a fire should break out, it must be tackled before it gets out of control. In the case of any fire, make sure that it is permanently extinguished, not forgetting that fires can restart, especially in high velocities underground. So be prepared. Learn to know the different fires. Learn to know the equipment to hand, where it is, and how to use it. You have the means in your hand.
Eckersley Colliery. Nice little pit. Known to the inmates as Eckers-like. Output's up. Climbing all the time. Labour relations are good. Well, mostly good. Well, as good as most. The outlook would be rosy if somebody down there didn't seem to have it in for the pit. According to the area director, Eckersley is the hottest property around. The manager has to agree with him, although he'd be reluctant to admit it. The manager's a busy man. Fire incidents take up a lot of his time. The manager would probably call it an accident. That's not what the fire officer would call it. There was a rather more serious incident last November. It was a cold, drizzly day, and the heating wasn't up to scratch as they'd had a fire in the boiler room the week before. Alice Ogden, who works in the offices, had her hair spoilt waiting for the bus. So, naturally enough, when she got in, she started putting it to rights.
snippy in here. They're only up to half strength. Where's that bloody fire?
Mr. Bershaw said you're not to use that fire. It's dangerous.
Silly old fool. What does he know about it? This yours? I thought you were slimming.
I am. My fingers are ever so slim. Oh, look.
Daft pikelet.
Don't you know Mr. Bershaw's forbidden us to use that fire? Anyway, what about the kettle?
Oh, what about it? No problem.
When you're finished, the manager wants those reports typed out.
Oh, somebody's in a mood today.
Have you got those papers out for the files yet? I need them for the manager's meeting this afternoon.
I told those girls to get it out on Friday. Hang on, if you've got a moment, I'll get it out myself. I say if you want the job done. I don't know. You could be different in my day. I can tell you when I was a child at the farm. This way. Ah, God, this place wants some sorting out. Still, I think I can find the stuff you want. Hold on. What?
What is that bloody for? That's stuff
Do you blame me? You let it go in the area, Curly.
I'm moving into your office next week, are you? Look out, here comes Gaffer. Excuse me.
Mr. Bershaw, just happened with me.
Well, don't just stand there, everybody. Somebody do something. Go on, fetch the firefighting team. Get the fire brigade. Well, go on. What's that horrible smell?
Air lacquer.
Air lacquer. Who opened that window?
I did. The room was full of smoke.
Amongst all your other brilliant ideas, I don't suppose it occurred to you to use a firefighting appliance.
It did, but you'll admit it was difficult to know what to use under the circumstances.
How you can get a fire going to this state when you're all supposed to be doing jobs that I mean, what's she doing with hair lacquer? She could start a fire
I'll tell
in
you,
here that
right from the
would
beginning.
burn out the whole
That's
building.
stupid,
I've just been into that records office.
hair,
It's
we're
in the
all
most
right.
appalling
You should
state.
do it, bloody hell. You're doing the
Look,
toilet. You should come 10 minutes early.
Look, don't blame us.
I missed the bus.
You
I
work
told you
time
time and
at
time
9
again. I know you
o'clock.
were, but I told her not to put her hair in curly in the office.
Well, Eckersley survived to firefight another day. Chances are you're more likely to get a fire in a workshop than an office. By its very nature, a workshop's a higher risk. Take this one. No smoking. That's a laugh. Clutter, paints and thinners side by side, rubbish on the floor, all the ingredients for a fire. Smoking is the commonest cause of surface fires. You won't prevent it by plastering notices all over the shop. A lighted fag end, an untidy shop, that's a burning combination at Eckersley. If you provide a place where men may smoke safely, then you can begin to enforce the no smoking rule. But always do your housekeeping. That's the secret of fire prevention. Not that it's really a secret. It's been preached, pushed, pleaded at Eckersley. Heaven alone knows, let alone the area's safety engineer. Good housekeeping will cut fire risks if it's done regularly. Most people at Eckersley regard fires as a fact of life. The firefighting team knows otherwise. Fires are preventable.
Ken! Harry! Come on!
Firefighting team's very efficient.
Leave all that tackle. Come
It should
on,
be.
over here.
It's had plenty of practice.
There's a joiner's shop's on fire. Can't you see it?
If there are fewer fires on the surface than underground, it's no reason for complacency. Once a surface fire spreads, it can put people underground in danger. It can foul ventilation, cripple electric power, and destroy water supplies. Fires are preventable. But even the fire officer sometimes has his doubts, looking at the mass of charred evidence that comes his way. And when he looks at equipment in the pit, he knows he's in a minority of one as far as fire prevention goes. Some elementary facts about fire might change a few minds, if anyone at Eckersley is watching. Heat alone won't start a fire. Air and something that will burn in it are the other essentials. Once a fire's started, it'll supply enough heat to raise surrounding materials to the temperature where they themselves will start to burn, so the fire will spread. The lowest temperature at which a material will start to burn is known as its ignition point. Heat from an outside source is needed to bring it to this point. Friction from a seized roller can be quite enough. Oils and other flammable liquids combine easily with the oxygen in the air to form an ignitable mixture. At a certain temperature, oxidation will proceed so rapidly that sufficient heat will be generated to bring the mixture to its ignition point. Give spilled oil a chance to soak into finely divided material like coal dust and sawdust and rags, and the fire risk will never be far away. Eckersley hasn't got a monopoly of fire risks. They're present in every pit. For a start, coal is combustible, obviously. Coal dust, even more so. Many of the materials needed in the pit are also combustible. There's no doubt about this material being a fire risk. Once installed in the pit, every machine is a potential risk. Fires can be caused by faults or neglect and poor maintenance. And if a fire breaks out, the ventilation system will spread the blaze. So look out for faults. Report those you can't handle and clean up as often as you can. Maintain equipment. Make regular inspections. Management must see that machinery is properly sited. Oil-filled switchgear and transformers need a free passage of air to disperse the heat they generate. Management must also make sure that it's easy to get at machinery that needs regular maintenance. Talking of maintenance, most underground fires are on conveyors. They're nearly always started by frictional heating. Especially true of Eckersley, where they've still got closed conveyors. Where dirt accumulates and where faulty rollers seize up, the friction frequently starts a fire. Conveyor fires appear with monotonous regularity in the Eckersley casebook. How about this one? It occurred on Nine's Loadergate conveyor last summer. Jack Newby, the gearhead attendant, had cleared up as usual and was taking a breather in the roadway when Percy Briers, a haulage hand, came out by. Briers had had a real grueler. He was ready for his tea. It was about home time, wasn't it? Bloody hell, it was time he was going. Anyhow, he reckoned he'd smelt something burning as he was coming up. They'd better get back, said Newby. Not Briers. At least he could let them know, Newby shouted. But Briers wasn't bothered. Newby wasted no more time on him. He'd more important things to do, like finding a fire. About 40 yards in by, smoke was everywhere. The smell of burning was unmistakable. The smoke was coming from the conveyor. A faulty roller had seized up, jammed by the dirt accumulated over several shifts. Newby did what he could under the circumstances, but it were like spitting in a high wind. At least it was a start. Now he'd have to follow it up. His next step was to raise the alarm. He couldn't rely on Briers. At the fire point, he rang the deputy on the district. His warning came just in time to stop the men at the face end. They didn't appreciate being sent out along the return, but they'd no alternative with the fire in the gate. Something stronger was needed to tackle the fire. The foam extinguisher was a sensible choice, but the fire was too deeply entrenched for the extinguisher to be effective. The answer was a hose. Newby had had some previous experience of fires, as who at Eckersley hadn't. But he was working on his own, and running out the hose and connecting it to the hydrant took precious time. Still, he kept his head, and that made up for any lack of expertise on his part. Once the pressure built up and the water got going, it was only a matter of minutes before the fire was extinguished. Newby's prompt action saved the situation. Throughout, he'd shown a sense of responsibility rare at Eckersley. Of course, the fire would never have started if others had been as responsible in the first place. There'd have been no dirt to gum up the roller and no faulty roller. Talking of responsibility, what about Briers? He sat down to his tea with a clear conscience, even if he grumbled a bit. His troubles began the next day. There are many electrical fires underground. To prevent them, frequent checks are needed on switchgear and other electrical apparatus. Damage and overheating are the best way to start a fire. There aren't many local fires, but if they happen, they're nasty. Firefighting points are recommended every 500 yards on local roadways. Routine overhaul reduces fire risks. Check water level. Top up frequently. Check fuel lines for leaks. Clean up spillage, if you can't avoid it. And don't leave the rag behind. Housekeeping again. Rags and oil bring to mind another incident. The midshift manset arrived on time at Nines Inby station. Punctuality is one of the few virtues practiced at Eckersley. Newby and Briars were on it. Briars, as ever, was in no hurry to get to work. As it happened, it was a good job he delayed the others.
Come on, let's hurry down. Good hell, come on.
Come on, Brian, you daft bugger. Give us a hand. Get this fire.
Newby acted with his usual initiative and helped save the day. But how had the rag got on the track? It had probably been trapped under the engine cowling and then been blown out by the fan. Briars thought otherwise. There were darker forces at work. Anyway, left to him, the pit could have been burnt down. Prevention's better than cure, but if a fire does start, you must know how to stop it. Learn how to use your firefighting equipment. There are two ways of putting out fires. One's by cooling, the other by smothering. Cooling's done with water. You need it on fires of freely burning materials like wood, paper and coal. Water cools down burning material and the surrounding areas to a temperature at which they can no longer continue to burn. Smothering fires starves them of oxygen. Smothering is the most effective way to deal with oil and electrical fires. Foam is used to smother oil fires. It acts like a blanket to exclude air. Dry powder is used to smother electrical fires underground. It starves them of oxygen. CO2 is more commonly used on surface electrical fires. Water should never be used as it conducts electricity. Enough said. All firefighting equipment should be readily available. On the surface, it should be grouped near doorways. Underground, fire points should be chosen for accessibility, escape routes, and areas of high fire risk. They should be clearly marked and clearly lit. There are also fire detection devices. The Minerva smoke detector protects transfer points, run-of-mine conveyors, return airways, and other high-risk areas. Gases from a fire reaching the Minerva trigger off an alarm signal. The Minerva also protects surface machinery such as friction winding motors. The alarm sets off a fixed CO2 installation. There's more than one kind of firefighting device. More than one kind of installation. All this equipment needs regular attention, but at Eckersley, only one man seems to give it, and that's the fire officer. With the whole pit to cover, it's inevitable that he should sometimes make a mistake. This was only one of the things that went wrong when fire broke out in the Sevens district return during salvage work. Most of the hose had been removed from the area, because in the manager's estimation, it was no longer required. Also, someone had gone in for salvaging on his own account. Another hose was eventually found, but 2 days earlier, a tub had come off the rails and smashed against the hydrant. No one had seen fit to report the matter. Fortunately, the salvage men were able to keep the fire at bay with stone dust, till the colliery fire team arrived. Fortunately. At Eckersley, they're still dealing with the same old fires. Carbon copies of the ones they had 20 years ago. You'd think they'd learn from experience, but no. Next week's conveyor fire seems to be well on the way. It could be the last one, for you, or you, or you, or you.
Every day, miners draw their lamps and self-rescuers and go on shift. It's all routine, but today isn't routine. Smoke, the smell of burning, telltale signs of an emergency, even for those a long way from the incident. Explosions, a blast of air like that from a ventilation door slamming, further indication that the ventilation system of the pit has been disturbed. One or all of these signs is enough to tell you that the air may now be contaminated with carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a product of combustion. It's a deadly poisonous, colourless and tasteless gas which also has no smell. And it can kill. The self-rescuer is your only safeguard against carbon monoxide poisoning. How do you know when to put on your self-rescuer? Answer the following questions by ticking what you think is the right answer on your worksheet. Which of these may give you a warning of the presence of carbon monoxide? Is it when A, you see smoke, or B, when you see a red light? Tick A or B, whichever you think right. There's a warning your nose tells you about, a smell. Is it A, the smell of petrol, or B, the smell of burning? Tick the one you think right. Is it a warning when you hear A, the sound of an explosion, or B, the sound of a whistle? Tick A or B. Finally, there is a warning you can feel. Is it a warning when A, you feel cold, or B, you feel a rush of air? I'm sure you got them all right. Let's check your answers. The first warning of carbon monoxide could be the presence of smoke or the air becoming hazy. There could be a smell of burning. You might hear the sound of an explosion. And you could feel a sudden rush of air. Then you don't wait for anyone to tell you. Put on your self-rescuer. Now, next question, why do you put it on? Is it to guard against A, methane, or B, carbon monoxide? Tick A or B. Yes, as a guard against the deadly gas carbon monoxide, which can make you unconscious in seconds. Next question. What scent has carbon monoxide? Has it A, the scent of oil, or B, the scent of pear drops? Neither. Carbon monoxide has no smell. It's odourless, tasteless, and colourless too, for that matter, so it's difficult to detect. All you've got to go on are the indicators which warn it may be present. The sight of smoke or haze, the smell of burning, the sound of an explosion, and the feel of a blast of air. You can't afford to take chances. Better to wear your self-rescuer in error than to die in doubt.
Your self-rescuer must be carried on your belt at all times, and, correctly placed, it will freely slide forward in an emergency. Now let's look at how we take the self-rescuer out of its container.
First of all, try to hold your breath to avoid inhaling carbon monoxide. Slide the container along your belt to the centre of your stomach. Hold the base in one hand, and with the other, push up the red lever to break the seal. Pull the lever up towards you to release the container. Take off the lid. Your left holding the base. Unfold the harness straps. Grip them firmly in one hand and pull straight upwards while holding down the container with the other hand.
Got the idea? Now you get ready. We'll try it together. Right. Now make sure your self-rescuer is fitted on your belt correctly. Check that your neighbour has his on correctly too. Be ready to take it out of its container with me. Here we go.
Remember, try to hold your breath to stop inhaling carbon monoxide. Slide the container to the middle of your stomach. Hold the base in one hand, and with the other, push up the red lever to break the seal. Pull the lever upwards to release the container. Take off the lid. You are left holding the base. Unfold the head harness straps. Grip them firmly with one hand and pull straight upwards, holding the lower part of the container down with the other hand. It's tightly packed to prevent damage, and it may need a strong, steady pull to free it.
Good. Now relax. Pulling the self-rescuer out by the head straps in the way I've shown you is the quickest and most effective way of getting it out without damage. If you can't get it out from the bottom container, don't panic. It will work effectively even with the container attached. Now you've got the self-rescuer out of its container, let's see how you put it on. Watch me first.
Remember, you're still trying to hold your breath. Insert the rubber flange inside your lips and bite on the mouthpiece lugs. Keep your mouth shut tight and fit the nose clip to the soft part of your nose. Now breathe out through the rescuer. Continue to breathe only through it. Do not talk. Take your helmet off, pull the harness straps over your head, and check that the rescuer fits snugly, adjusting the head straps if necessary. Replace your helmet. Now, you get ready to do it with us. Take a breath and put the rubber flange inside your lips. Bite on the mouthpiece. Keep your mouth shut and don't talk. Place the nose clip onto the soft part of your nose. Now, by breathing only through the self-rescuer and with your nose blocked, no contaminated air can get into your lungs to kill you. Take off your helmet. Pull the harness over your head and adjust the straps. Check that the respirator fits snugly and put your helmet back on. Continue to breathe through your self-rescuers and check your neighbour's to see that he's put it on properly.
Now we'll try from the beginning again, all in one go. Take off your self-rescuers and we'll stop the program until you are ready with the next self-rescuer on your belt.
Next question, why do you put it on? Is it to guard against A, methane, or B, carbon monoxide? Tick A or B. Yes, as a guard against the deadly gas carbon monoxide, which can make you unconscious in seconds. Next question. What scent has carbon monoxide? Has it A, the scent of oil, or B, the scent of pear drops? Neither. Carbon monoxide has no smell. It's odourless, tasteless, and colourless too, for that matter, so it's difficult to detect. All you've got to go on are the indicators which warn it may be present. The sight of smoke or haze, the smell of burning, the sound of an explosion, and the feel of a blast of air. You can't afford to take chances. Better to wear your self-rescuer in error than to die in doubt.
Your self-rescuer must be carried on your belt at all times, and, correctly placed, it will freely slide forward in an emergency. Now let's look at how we take the self-rescuer out of its container.
First of all, try to hold your breath to avoid inhaling carbon monoxide. Slide the container along your belt to the centre of your stomach. Hold the base in one hand, and with the other, push up the red lever to break the seal. Pull the lever up towards you to release the container. Take off the lid. Your left holding the base. Unfold the harness straps. Grip them firmly in one hand and pull straight upwards while holding down the container with the other hand.
Got the idea? Now you get ready. We'll try it together. Right, now make sure your self-rescuer is fitted on your belt correctly. Check that your neighbour has his on correctly too. Be ready to take it out of its container with me. Here we go.
Remember, try to hold your breath to stop inhaling carbon monoxide. Slide the container to the middle of your stomach. Hold the base in one hand, and with the other, push up the red lever to break the seal. Pull the lever upwards to release the container. Take off the lid. You are left holding the base. Unfold the head harness straps. Grip them firmly with one hand and pull straight upwards, holding the lower part of the container down with the other hand. It's tightly packed to prevent damage, and it may need a strong, steady pull to free it.
Good. Now relax. Pulling the self-rescuer out by the head straps in the way I've shown you is the quickest and most effective way of getting it out without damage. If you can't get it out from the bottom container, don't panic. It will work effectively even with the container attached. Now you've got the self-rescuer out of its container, let's see how you put it on. Watch me first.
Remember, you're still trying to hold your breath. Insert the rubber flange inside your lips and bite on the mouthpiece lugs. Keep your mouth shut tight and fit the nose clip to the soft part of your nose. Now breathe out through the rescuer. Continue to breathe only through it. Do not talk. Take your helmet off, pull the harness straps over your head, and check that the rescuer fits snugly, adjusting the head straps if necessary. Replace your helmet. Now, you get ready to do it with us. Take a breath and put the rubber flange inside your lips. Bite on the mouthpiece. Keep your mouth shut and don't talk. Place the nose clip onto the soft part of your nose. Now, by breathing only through the self-rescuer and with your nose blocked, no contaminated air can get into your lungs to kill you. Take off your helmet. Pull the harness over your head and adjust the straps. Check that the respirator fits snugly and put your helmet back on. Continue to breathe through your self-rescuers and check your neighbour's to see that he's put it on properly.
Now we'll try from the beginning again, all in one go. Take off your self-rescuers and we'll stop the program until you are ready with the next self-rescuer on your belt.
Right. We'll just watch our demonstrator doing it right through this time, and then you'll do it right through with us. The moment you're aware of an emergency, hold your breath to prevent breathing in deadly carbon monoxide. Slide the container to the middle of your stomach. Hold the base in one hand. With the other, push up the red lever to break the seal. Pull the lever up towards you to release the container. Take off the lid. You're left holding the base of the container. Unfold the harness straps, grip them firmly with one hand and pull straight upwards, holding down the lower part of the container with the other hand. Throw away the container. If you can't get the respirator out of the container, don't panic. Put the rubber flange of the mouthpiece inside your lips and bite on it. Keep your mouth shut tight and fit the nose clip over the soft part of your nose. Now breathe out through the rescuer. Continue to breathe only through it. Do not talk. Take off your helmet, pull the harness straps over your head and adjust them to make sure the respirator fits snugly. Replace your helmet. Ready? Now you try with us. First of all, try to hold your breath. Slide the container along your belt to the middle of your stomach. Hold it in one hand. With the other, push up the red lever to break the seal. Pull the lever upwards to release the container. Take off the lid. You're left holding the base of the container. Unfold the head harness straps and pull straight up while holding down the bottom of the container with your other hand. Throw away the container. Put the rubber flange of the mouthpiece inside your lips. Bite on the mouthpiece. Clip the nose clip on the soft part of your nose. Now breathe, but only through the self-rescuer. If you should lose the nose clip, just pinch your nostrils. Now take your helmet off, pull the harness straps over your head, adjusting them if necessary. Check that the respirator fits snugly. Put your helmet back on. Check that your neighbour has his self-rescuer on properly. Keep your mouth shut. Do not talk, or you'll be dead. Keep your self-rescuer on till someone in authority tells you that it's safe to take it off. Your self-rescuer operates by converting poisonous carbon monoxide into a non-poisonous atmosphere. This chemical reaction generates heat. The more contaminated the air, the hotter your breathing will become. This heat is a measure of how effectively your self-rescuer is working. Do not run. Exertion will only make you breathless and increase the heat and discomfort. If your mouth and throat become hot and parched, swallow saliva. Do not remove your self-rescuer. It could be fatal. Walk away from the incident towards fresh air and safety. And remember, no talking in any circumstances. When it's safe,
Right, lads.
and only
It's all
then,
clear.
you will be told to remove your self-rescuer by someone in authority. You can take yours off too now, and get ready to answer some more questions. Are you ready? Answer the following questions on your worksheet. If you have to wear a self-rescuer down the pit, would you A, ring the pit bottom and report the incident, or B, keep your mouth shut? Next, would you A, run for help, or B, Walk away from the incident towards fresh air. Let's check your answers. That's right. B. Mouth shut and no talking in any circumstances. And B again. You walk. You don't run. Now, last question. When do you take your self-rescuer off? Is it A, when it gets hot, or B, when told by somebody in authority? That's right. B yet again. You must not remove your self-rescuer until someone in authority tells you it's safe to do so. Self-rescuers are for emergencies. No one must go down the pit without one. But it's no use learning how to use it if, when an emergency occurs, it's not on your belt or isn't working because it's been damaged. Every person must examine his self-rescuer before going underground. If it's damaged or suspected of being faulty in any way, you must return it to the lamp room attendant at once. If damage is observed while underground, report it to an official and to the lamp room attendant at the end of the shift. Self-rescuers are examined regularly to ensure that they are not externally damaged by dents or holes. A broken seal could allow moisture to ruin the self-rescuer. Selected batches are regularly sent for laboratory analysis. Stringent tests ensure that all those in service are in A1 condition. Now you're going to put on your third self-rescuer in total darkness. We'll give you time to get ready and then continue in sound only. Rise. Now, hold your breath. Slide the container along your belt to the middle of your stomach. Hold it in one hand. With the other, push up the red lever to break the seal. Pull the lever upwards to release the container. Take off the lid. Your left holding the base of the container. Unfold the head harness straps and pull straight up while holding down the bottom of the container with your other hand. Throw away the container. Put the rubber flange of the mouthpiece inside your lips. Bite on the mouthpiece. Clip the nose clip onto the soft part of your nose. Now breathe, but only through the self-rescuer. If you should lose the nose clip, just pinch your nostrils. Now take your helmet off, pull the harness straps over your head, adjusting them if necessary. Check that the respirator fits snugly. put your helmet back on. Now open your eyes and take off your respirators. If you've managed to put on your self-rescuer in the dark, well done. If you didn't quite manage it this time, try it again. It could save your life.
Oh, bloody hell. Well, here's another fine mess you've got yourself into, Stanley. I'm stuck here, up to my neck in coal. I can't move. Oh, and I'm dying for a fag. I bet that's where Ollie's gone, for a quick smoke. I can't see his light. Surely he must have seen me fall.
Ollie! Ollie! Where the hell are you?
Never there when you want him. How on earth did I get into this mess anyway? I'm pretty sure I put that harness thingy on right, and I attached that rope job to the clip. I wonder if it was the rope. Nah, looks all right from here. Where the flaming hell's Ollie? He should be back by now.
Ollie! Ollie!
That's the last time I trust that pillock. I bet it was that alto what's-it that's knackered. It looked a bit bent when I attached it to the rope. I'll make sure I don't use that thing again. Mind you, it could have been that knot I tied. If only I could remember how many turns was needed to tie the damn thing. Nah, I know what it was. It was that bloody kiblock. I had a bit of trouble tightening that bolt, and I'm sure that handle felt a bit loose. Still, no use crying over spilt milk. Too late now. I'm stuck here. My mate's buggered off, and I'll never make that darts match now. Hey, I've got a feeling they're going to fill this bunker later on. That reminds me. I wonder if I isolated that conveyor.
He's got more than a darts match to worry about. Stan and Ollie. That pair are well named. Still, it's easy to see how he got in that position. He obviously didn't check his equipment properly. And what's worse, his mates deserted him. Another cardinal sin. In a moment, we'll see what he should have done. But first, a word about equipment. The proper equipment should be kept on site, in a suitable location. Here, it's in the coal prep plant. It should also be stored in a secure locker, with the key being held by a responsible person, such as the plant foreman. He should only hand over bunker equipment to men he knows have had bunker training. You'll notice a record is kept of the equipment. That must be filled in when the harness is chosen. Right, the first thing to do when you collect your harness is to check it thoroughly. Don't just give it the once-over. Remember, it has to bear your weight. Examine it for frayed material. Make sure the alto chute and kiblock work properly. Check all the buckles. Only take the harness if you're perfectly happy with it. After all, it's your life that's on the line. If you have any doubts, put it to one side so that it can be properly tested, and choose another one. Here you'll notice that 2 men are getting geared up. That's because whenever a man enters a bunker, there should be another at the top looking out for him. Because the fence or gate will have to be removed to gain access to the bunker, the second man must also wear a harness. Actually getting into a harness can be fairly tricky. The legs go in first.
Once the legs are in place, the straps can be pulled over the shoulders. Notice that the plant foreman is remaining on site to help. Once into the harness, the necessary adjustments can be made so that it's comfortable. Remember, the harness shouldn't be too tight. On the other hand, it shouldn't be so slack that the straps slip off the shoulder. Tuck in any loose straps out of harm's way. Once the harness is secure and comfortable, each man inspects his mate's equipment to see that everything's okay. The foreman, who has remained in place, makes a final safety check. He'll only let the men proceed if he's perfectly happy. If there are any problems with the harness, it should be discarded and a new one chosen. Once he's satisfied, the foreman begins to attach the lanyards, after first checking they're in good condition. Here you can see him inspecting the alto chute, both externally and internally. If that's okay, he goes on to inspect the kiblock, which is attached to the second lanyard. Of course, it's the same process for both men.
Before we continue, a quick word about other equipment. Obviously, the man must wear a hard hat, and in addition, that hat should be fitted with a chin strap. He must also wear boots and gloves and carry a cap lamp. Right, that's the personal equipment, but of course there's other gear to worry about too. I'm talking, of course, about the rope ladder and ropes. Make sure they're securely fitted to their anchorage points. Here they'll be using 2 ropes, and that's a minimum. One for the man climbing into the bunker, and one spare for emergencies.
As an extra precaution, each man is attached to a safety line. Again, the foreman makes it his job to check the equipment is in good working order. The carabiner, the rope itself, and the shackles attached to the anchorage point all receive his attention. Once he's satisfied, he hooks the safety lines to the D-rings on the back of each man's harness. Now, before any attempt is made to enter the bunker, a safety lamp is used to check for the presence of gas. Everything is in order, so the man can proceed to attach himself to the rope. Here you can see the man is being careful to make sure the alto chute is fitted the right way, with the arrow pointing upwards. This process takes place before the gate at the top of the bunker is opened.
You'll notice our man is using an alto chute. It works on the same principle as a car seat belt. As long as he moves smoothly, the alto chute goes with him. But if he were to fall, the alto chute would stop him within 6 feet by securely gripping the rope. Right, our man is now ready to enter the bunker.
Once again, a flame safety lamp is used to check for the presence of gas. The lamp is lowered with the man as he descends into the bunker.
Sure that he's securely attached to the rope, the man can descend into the bunker using the rope ladder. As you can see, there's a special technique to using a rope ladder. He's using the side of the ladder, because if you use it like a normal ladder, it will whip away from under you. Before touching the surface of the coal, he switches from his alto chute to his kiblock. An alto chute wouldn't halt the kind of slow fall you get due to rat holing, whereas a kiblock would.
Notice he's careful the kiblock is securely attached to the rope and positioned well above his head before he begins to disengage the alto chute.
Coming out of the bunker is the same process, but in reverse. And remember, the alto chute must not be released until the gate or fencing around the top of the bunker has been replaced. Finally, return your equipment to the locker. And that's it. Simple, really. There are a number of variations on the types of equipment you can use, but the same basic principles always apply. Check your equipment thoroughly. Always make sure someone is at the top of the bunker. Never open the gate or remove the fencing until your harness is secured to a suitable anchorage point. Stick to the rules. They're there for a good reason. The message is always the same. Think safety first, second, always. Your life could depend on it.
How many times have you heard people say he'd be lost without his hands? We all would. So if you're working with oil, and that includes soluble oil, the rule is always protect your hands. The same rule applies whether you're working underground or on the surface. Before you start work, always use a barrier cream. It will form a protective layer between your skin and the oil. And for added protection, you can wear a pair of plastic gloves. Never, as some men do, use oil, paraffin, sand, or an oily rag to clean your hands. It may get them clean, but in doing so, it removes some of the natural oils. And never keep an oily rag in your overall pocket. At the end of the shift, clean your hands with a cleansing cream. This will safely remove any oil, grease or dirt. If you don't use a cleansing cream to remove the oil, it could lead to skin irritation and dermatitis. If you do get any skin irritation, go to the medical centre and let them have a look at it. Then there's an aftercare cream, which puts the moisture back in your skin and keeps your hands as soft as the proverbial baby's bottom. So there it is, a barrier cream before you start work, a cleansing cream to remove the oil, and an aftercare cream to put the moisture back into your skin. Never use anything else.
Two days ago, this man suffered a high-pressure injection injury in his hand, but he didn't report it. This afternoon, they may have to amputate his hand. Tomorrow, it could be his arm. A high-pressure injection injury is a result of a jet of water or oil striking and penetrating the skin. The pressure of the fluid doesn't need to be very high. Even a fire hose is sufficient to cause this type of injury. The areas at greatest risk are the exposed parts of the body, such as the hands and face, especially the eyes. The fluid saturates and kills the flesh beneath it. And if it is not treated, a second stage can develop, producing blood poisoning or gangrene. In our industry, High-pressure systems are in use every minute of every day on chocks, hydraulic machines and high-pressure water ranges. If you see a burst hose, isolate at a valve or at the machine. Don't try and stop it with your hand or try to make a temporary repair. We go to great lengths to prevent this type of injury with high-quality hoses and fittings, but men are still being injured. Don't use high-pressure hoses for anything other than the purpose that they were intended for. This man has put himself and his workmates at risk by using a high-pressure hose for washing a machine down. You could end up like this man. He hardly felt anything at all, just a mild stinging sensation. But he didn't report it. 2 days later, the pain was so severe that they had to rush him into here. Remember, don't mess with high-pressure fluids. Keep well clear and isolate. If you get caught, report it to the medical centre immediately.